What I want to talk about first off is the science behind some of the photographs. And see the interconnectedness of each and every one of us in this room is what binds all of us. It's the obvious, it's the easy, it's the scientific. That's the thread that ties us together. The polar bears in these photographs, half of these polar bears by 2015 will be gone. By 2040, the entire Hudson Bay population will be extinct, and by 2060, there will be no ice in the Arctic Circle. Because what's happening with our world is that when the global climate increase in temperature, that is stored in the oceans. In Antarctica, you have a 6-degree temperature in Antarctica over the last 50 years. The ozone hole in Antarctica is over 9 million square miles. What happens in a place like South Sudan and Sahel is you have 25% less rainfall, which means instead of 4 inches, they only get 3, which makes them so much more vulnerable to drought, which can so easily lead to famine. It's how Antarctica connects to Sudan, it's how we connect to our world. And in Peru, there's an incredible glacier that they've been making a pilgrimage to since the 1920s, over 40,000 people. They liken the glacier as the body of Christ. 80% of this glacier has deteriorated. By 2040, there will be no intertropical glaciers whatsoever in Peru or anywhere in the tropics. We're melting. It's the worst drought in Savo since 1850 in Africa. So a lot of the tribesmen, the elders, have been, unfortunately, with their proliferation of goats and cattle, killing the baby elephants and the mothers so that they drink less water. With the expansion of the Sahara Desert, what you see is that fine red silt travels across the Atlantic Ocean, settling on the reefs of the Bahamas, slowly choking off that entire ecosystem. Again, warming the temperature of the ocean. In our environment, we're seeing, this is up in Lake Athabasca. This is a huge thing for us because this is the Keystone Pipeline. Canada is our #1 importer of foreign oil. 99% of our oil comes from this place. These are multi-billion-gallon tailing ponds. And I'm also looking at different places like West Virginia, over 700 miles of buried streams. 2,200 square miles of Appalachia is gone from mountaintop removal. What's happening to the land in our environment? Over 6 million landmines are planted in the legacy of the Khmer Rouge. They're called the K5 belt. 2 people die every day in Cambodia. And this loss of land, this loss of people, this loss of life, and the later effects of what's happened with Agent Orange in the legacy of Vietnam. Over 4 million people have been exposed to Agent Orange, which means it's in their DNA, it's in their genetic makeup, which means their children, their children's children, until they become pariahs in that society and no one wants to marry you because of the potential that you've been exposed to Agent Orange. I don't want to have a child. That's the science. That's easy. Those are given facts that we can all consume. Patrick is something different. And my approach to my work and what I learned is so much originating from him. And I'll show a few of those photographs because Patrick was my first teacher. This is where I started in Belfast in the late 80s. And it's in his left eye. And I saw for the first time in my life, I truly understood what sorrow was. Because I looked into the eye of this young boy whose father had been arrested the night before. And he'd lost his father, he'd lost his hope, and he's on Falls Road. Learning humility, being broken by this world, and being a willing recipient of it. To understand these different connection points and how we all relate. Next, I was in Haiti in the early 90s, this young boy. 85–90% of the children in this village had died of a mumps epidemic. This man had lost 3 of his children in 4 weeks, 2 of them on the same day. And this is his last remaining child. And I could tell through his broken, incredible emotions to me that day, please, please Tell the world we are the ones who are suffering. You are our only voice. And that puts some incredible, intense emotions inside of me, and what my responsibility is in bearing witness to this man, to a lot of these other stories that I've been working on. Romania is also another story. These are the young children who fell through the net, if you will. These are children who are sleeping in the underground sewers in Bucharest. Sudan. This is that connection point. This is where we're at without language. This is the spiritual connection and bond that ties each and every one of us together in this room forever. I will never forget this experience, nor will you. That's the shared experience of what we've done here communally to come together at this TEDx and do. God, all the people that have spoken here, I love and I'm connected to each and every one of you and all these brilliant sparks. Then there's that language within the language that has happened with this man, because I do not take this photograph. This photograph is given. I'm on my hands and knees in front of this man without an interpreter, without a language, other than what emanates from my body, from my eyes, when I kneel before him to photograph him and absorb him into my life. And for him to give me that image, to not turn away, to not know. And that's the caregiver that I can be for him, and I can carry his image with me for the rest of my life. Because all these images are imprinted into my DNA, as you could well imagine. And this is one of the baby elephants, Kalama. Her mother was killed, and she ended up with this wonderful orphanage, the David Sheldrick Trust, where she's cared for. And she wanted nothing but love. That's what everyone wants. We all want to be held. She, for whatever reason, accepted me and pulled up across me and just laid the weight of her body across me, and I was holding her. And I was holding close to her trunk, and she reached with her mouth to pull my finger in to suckle. And she was suckling on my finger, making these beautiful sounds. And then she put her trunk up across my chest, because that's how she sleeps in comfort against her mother, when she has the nipple in her mouth and she leans against her mother, and it's that incredible space of comfort and love that she feels from her mother. And then when she adopted me in that brief moment of time, to share and to experience that, and to break through that threshold of communication that's not just one-to-one who we are as individuals. It's this incredible communication at this vibrational frequency that we emanate that also connects with animals. Polar bears was the same way. I can talk about that afterwards, about those polar bear experiences, what happened with them. And in Cambodia here too, she's lost her husband. He's left her, left with both her kids, and she's remarried. She is here recovering. And she has the nobility, the absolute nobility, to sit before me and to share her life with me and to pass her energy through to me and to look at her as a landmine survivor. God, that word's so important. It's not landmine victim. Victim sounds so dark. Landmine survivor, hope. She's a survivor. And one of the most difficult stories I've ever worked on, hands down, was in Vietnam with the Agent Orange, with the legacy. You've seen so few of those images. The rooms that I went into, children without eyes, without limbs, without consciousness. And you can see me, unfortunately not here because it's not dark enough, reflected in her pupil. And it was one of the most extraordinary experiences of looking back, and without the fear, but being able to be seen as a photographer and as an individual. And for the first time in my career, when I finished inside there, I wrapped up my bags, took them outside, and went back in to that room. And I knelt before her just like that so she could see me right here. And I said to her, "You are a beautiful angel who has come to this earth. I acknowledge you. I love you. I am here for you. You are seen. I am witness. You are beautiful. And I went to each of the other children, and she started to emanate with this vocalization. And with the other kids in the room, this entire room lit up with all of these children that I didn't think I could maybe communicate with. And I just poured out the love. You are acknowledged. You are an angel who's come to this earth. And I love you. And I left that room with the beautiful symphony of their souls and of their spirits as we connected in that afternoon. That's who we are. There are no barriers. We're all spirit, with one another, with animals, with each other, with everyone. Thank you, Robert. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Colin, it's so deeply moving, and what an immense honor to have you here. Someone as deeply humble and such a global spirit on this stage is only the most auspicious beginning for this conference. But I wanted to speak with you a bit further. We can have lifetimes of conversations, I know. But for something, you know, we split up your presence today between the session on the individual and the session on the community. And as a photographer looking into a photographer's lens, the photographer is seen as an individual. And you also spoke about being seen as an individual and the incredible empowerment as an individual to create images like this one, images like this one. But at the same time, what strikes me is the incredible global nature of your photographs and the global nature of your spirit, and how that photography for you is not about a frozen moment in time, but about a continuous story. It is so striking, the lyricism in your images. And I was wondering if you could speak to us in a brutally brief way about that.
About lyricism?
About lyricism. It's a language I understand.
Yes. In that philosophy or that mindset of bearing witness, there is that responsibility. There are words that continually are moving through my mind. There's the different expressions of who and what we are. And as they speak through me in that silent language, because so many times I'm in that space where there is no interpreter, just like with the woman in Cambodia, all it is the energy, what emanates from me. What comes from me to her, again, is you are a landmine survivor. God, that energy changes everything about how we view the person that we're talking to on SkidRow in Cambodia. All these things are connected because it comes with our own self-view. And what do we project? And that lyricism is part of that song, part of that music. That symphony that goes on inside my mind when I'm photographing. And the music that I'm listening to on the way there, or the music that becomes the soundtrack for this place. And you just don't always see it, you don't always feel it. I mean, she doesn't have any legs, they're both gone from here. Her other hand is completely fused together, she has nothing there. And she has that one little hand reaching out. And I mean, that's, you know, those are just the...
We have no words. It's absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
And I think this is another space where we can make some music. Colin, thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.